All right, welcome back to the First-Time Homebuyer Survival Series. This is part 23, and we are finally in the home stretch. We've had our offer accepted. We just picked our lawyers, so they're going to be handling everything that they're going to do on the back end. And now pretty much all we have to do is wait until closing date. Depending on what is set out in your offer, that can be a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. It really will depend how long this period is. But at this point, your offer is firm. All conditions are waived. The deal is locked in. So there are a couple things you are going to want to handle in this period, but this is pretty much the home stretch. This period is really about tying up any loose ends and getting ready for the home to be officially yours. So one of the things you're probably going to want to take advantage of is your revisits to the property. So one thing that buyers don't realize is that you usually get a few revisits to the property. Depends on what's been written into your offer to buy the house, but it's typical to have it in there to revisit the property up to 3 times. Again, this is negotiable. It depends what was in your offer, but that's a fairly typical one depending on your closing period. So what these are separate opportunities for you to go back and schedule time to revisit the home. Now, these revisits are not to renegotiate any offers or any prices or to reinspect the house. It's more so just an opportunity for you to plan out what you're going to do with the house. So at this point, you've already seen it a couple times during the initial showing, the home inspection, and ideally nothing should have changed. So these revisits are a great time for you to take any measurements if you're thinking about getting some furniture. And a lot of times what buyers will do is they'll use this opportunity to bring a contractor through if they're planning on doing some work. If they want to renovate the kitchen or something of that nature, they'll bring a contractor through to get a quote and just start planning the process. You can also use it to bring any family members through if you want to show them this place you just bought, or it's generally just a good idea to get a better feel for the space. Now, this probably doesn't need to be said, but it's worth mentioning. Until you have the keys, you can't make any changes or start any work. This is just to view the home. Even if it's vacant, if the seller's already moved out, it's still legally their property, so you can't make any changes. You can't do anything until the actual closing date, and you actually get the keys from the lawyer. So depending on how long your closing is, say if you have a 3-month closing, a common approach is to do 1 revisit per month. That being said, you don't actually have to use these. They're just there as an option. Some buyers only use 1 or 2 of them, and then they skip on the 3rd one. Other buyers I've had don't want to do the revisit at all. They don't really bother because they already know the space and they already know what they're going to do with it. They're not really planning any renovations, so they don't really need to bring a contractor through or anything like that. The key point is just knowing that this is an option that's available to you. The next thing that you want to do during this period is to set up the utilities and the services. So this is where you want to be transferring over the hydro, the gas, the water, any internet you're getting, home insurance. That's really important. You want to be setting up your home insurance as well during this period. The lender will want to see that before they give the funds, so you want to make sure you do that sooner rather than later. You want all this ready to go so that when you get the keys, you're not scrambling to set this stuff up. Your lawyer will typically tell you when to start setting these up based on your closing date. Now, one really important point about the closing window from when your deal went firm and when you're actually closing is you want to avoid making any major financial changes. So you want to make sure you don't apply for new credit, you don't finance any of the furniture or any of the appliances that you're going to be buying for the house, you don't buy a new car, and you don't open any new credit cards. Even though your deal is firm and you've been approved for your mortgage at this point, your mortgage still needs to fund on closing date, and a lot of times lenders will do a final check before they release the funds to you. If your financial situation changes dramatically, the lender can recheck things, and in a worst case scenario, they can pull the mortgage approval. So you don't want that to happen. Just keep your finances nice and stable. Avoid making any career or job changes in that window if you can, without checking with your lender first. Once you've closed, then you can start making changes. It's completely fine after that point. So just a quick wrap up while you wait for your closing date. You can use your revisits to make any plans, any changes, bring a contractor through, family, friends, and so on. Make sure you set up your utilities and keep your finances stable. And then that's pretty much it. In the next video, we're going to talk about what happens on the closing date and what to do immediately after you get the keys, any final walkthroughs and all that stuff, just to make sure that everything is looking right and there's no issues. So stay tuned for that. And if you want the PDF version of the First-Time Homebuyer Survival Guide, or if you have any questions and you want to reach out to me, all the info is down in the description. I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.